When mechanics cut open the best-selling oil filter in America, they find cardboard holding the filter paper together, a rubber valve that hardens and fails in cold weather, and a plastic bypass mechanism where every competitor uses steel. This is not some counterfeit knockoff from a shady website. This is a name-brand filter sitting on the shelf at every auto parts store in the country, installed on millions of engines right now. A landmark General Motors study proved that the right filter can reduce engine wear by up to 70%. And yet the filter industry has been allowed to hide what is inside these sealed steel canisters because no consumer can see through the wall before they buy. We are going to cut open the biggest names in the business, expose the hidden duopoly controlling this entire market, and show you exactly what to look for so you never install a ticking time bomb on your engine. If you walk into any auto parts store in America, you see what looks like a competitive marketplace. Dozens of brands line the shelves. FRAM, Mobil 1, K&N, Purolator, Wix, Royal Purple, Supertech, STP, ACDelco. You assume these are different companies, fighting to build a better product for your car. That is an illusion. The reality is that two massive corporate groups manufacture virtually every oil filter on those shelves, often in the exact same factory. MAN plus Hummel, a privately held German conglomerate with over $4 billion in annual revenue, controls Wix, Purolator, and the Napa Gold line. And First Brands Group controls FRAM and a company called Champion Laboratories. Champion Labs is one of the largest private label filter manufacturers in the world. They build filters for over 100 different brands, including Royal Purple, Mobil 1, STP, ACDelco, Amsoil, K&N, and Walmart Supertech. That means the same factory in Albion, Illinois, is producing the $3 Supertech filter and the $15 Royal Purple. Same assembly line, same workers, completely different internal components and quality specifications. And the thing that should worry you most is what happened to that factory's parent company in September of 2025. To understand why this matters, you need to understand what is actually inside an oil filter, because from the outside, they all look like identical steel cans. Every spin-on filter contains 6 critical components, and the quality of each one varies dramatically between price tiers. The most important part you have never heard of is called the anti-drain back valve. It is a flexible rubber disc that sits over the inlet holes on the base plate and prevents oil from draining out of the filter when you shut the engine off. Without a functioning anti-drain back valve, the filter empties back into the oil pan overnight, and the next morning when you start your car, the engine runs completely dry for the first 3 to 5 seconds. That is called a dry start, and it hammers your bearings, your camshaft, and your valve lifters with metal-on-metal contact every time you turn the key. Premium filters use a silicone valve. You can identify it because it is red or terracotta colored, and silicone stays flexible across extreme temperature ranges for 10,000 miles or more. Budget filters use a nitrile rubber valve. It is always black, and nitrile hardens when exposed to repeated heat cycles, which means it can fail within a few thousand miles. In cold climates below minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, nitrile becomes brittle and can crack entirely. Multiple Toyota Tundra and Ford Mustang owners documented a persistent cold start knocking sound that disappeared immediately when they switched away from budget filters with nitrile valves. The second critical component is the bypass valve. This is the filter's emergency pressure relief system. When the filter media clogs or the oil is too thick on a freezing morning, this valve opens to let unfiltered oil reach the engine, because unfiltered oil is still better than no oil at all. Here is the problem that almost nobody talks about. Different engines require different bypass cracking pressures. Most passenger cars need 8 to 12 psi, but Subaru's Boxer engines require 23 psi, and GM's variable displacement engines need exactly 22. Installing a filter with the wrong bypass pressure on these specific engines has caused documented oil pressure drops and cam phaser failures that cost thousands to repair. Premium filters use steel springs and machined metal poppets. Budget filters use plastic components that can warp under heat and lose their calibration. But poor components are only half the problem. The filter media itself is where cheap filters truly betray you, and it is also where the price difference becomes impossible to ignore when you cut one open. There are 3 types of media inside oil filters: Cellulose is the cheapest option. It is basically treated wood pulp with large, inconsistent fibers. It filters to roughly 20 to 40 microns with an efficiency as low as 40% for the fine particles that cause the most damage. Synthetic media uses man-made glass fibers with smaller, more uniform pore sizes. It filters down to 5 to 10 microns and holds 2 to 4 times more debris before it clogs. And then there is nanofiber, where electrospun sub-micron fibers achieve 98.7% efficiency at 15 microns. In one documented test, oil run through a nanofiber filter for 4,000 miles came back cleaner than brand new oil straight out of the bottle. Now, here is where it gets truly disturbing. When independent testers on the Bob is the Oil Guy forum and the TRX forum cut open 15 popular filters side by side, the differences were shocking. The FRAM ExtraGuard had fiber cardboard end caps holding the media together, thin cellulose media with fewer pleats than any competitor, and a plastic bypass valve with a wave spring instead of a coil spring. The automotive community nicknamed it the Orange Can of Death. That name originated around 2005 when a disgruntled former FRAM employee posted on a Mopar enthusiast forum that the orange filter was terrible and would destroy any engine. The story went viral across every car forum and YouTube channel on the internet. But here is the twist that nobody talks about. FRAM's ultra-synthetic, made by the exact same company, uses metal end caps, dual-layered fully synthetic media, a silicone anti-drain back valve, and achieves 99.96% efficiency at 20 microns in independent testing. Testers now call it arguably the best performing oil filter on the market. The same company that makes the most hated filter in America also makes one of the most praised. Meanwhile, Royal Purple scored #1 overall in that 15 filter cut open comparison. Wire-backed 100% synthetic media, metal end caps, silicone valve, heavy-duty steel canister, made by Champion Laboratories, $15. The $3 Supertech from the same factory had cardboard end caps, a nitrile valve, and media rated at 30 microns. Same building, 5 times the price difference, and a completely different product behind the label, and it gets worse. The parent company of FRAM and Champion Laboratories, a private equity roll-up called First Brands Group, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in September of 2025 with more than $9 billion in liabilities and just $12 million in the bank. 1 month later, the Department of Justice opened a criminal investigation after creditors alleged that $2.3 billion had vanished through off-balance sheet financing schemes. By January of 2026, federal prosecutors indicted the company's founder, Patrick James, and his brother, Edward James, on charges including wire fraud, bank fraud, money laundering conspiracy, and running a continuing financial crimes enterprise. Both were arrested in Ohio. A third executive pleaded guilty and is now cooperating with investigators. The company began winding down its Autolite, brake parts, and Cardone subsidiaries. More than 4,000 employees across North America have already lost their jobs. The company that manufactures filters for ACDelco, STP, Royal Purple, Amsoil, Supertech, and dozens of other brands is now operating under bankruptcy protection while its founders face potential life sentences. And the threats do not stop at legitimate filters with questionable quality. Counterfeit oil filters are flooding the American market, and what is inside them is genuinely horrifying. Denso in Japan and Hyundai in Korea conducted bench tests on counterfeit filters sold through online marketplaces and found bypass valves permanently stuck open, meaning zero filtration at all times. They found punched-out rubber discs instead of precision anti-drain back valves and sharp metal edges that allow completely unfiltered oil to flow straight through the canister. Ford's brand protection division documented counterfeits containing old rags, perforated food cans, and random scrap materials where the filter element should be. A 2008 Toyota Highlander fitted with a counterfeit filter developed loud engine ticking because the counterfeit media collapsed like an accordion and the variable valve timing system starved for clean oil. BMW is facing a separate class action lawsuit filed in January of 2026, alleging the company switched from cast aluminum to polycarbonate oil filter housings around 2014 to cut costs. These plastic housings crack between 60 and 80,000 miles. conveniently after the warranty expires, causing coolant to leak directly into the oil sump. Repair costs run $1,500 to $4,000. But the most common killer of all is not a bad filter brand, or a counterfeit, or a cracked housing. It is the double gasket installation error. When a technician removes the old filter, the rubber gasket can stick to the engine block surface. If they do not check and install a new filter on top of that stuck gasket, you now have two gaskets stacked. That compromised seal can blow out under oil pressure while you are driving, dumping every drop of oil from your engine in minutes. A FRAM 2500 owner documented losing 6 quarts of oil from a double gasket failure at just 1,600 miles after an oil change, resulting in destroyed rod bearings and crankshaft damage. Multiple lawsuits against quick lube chains like Jiffy Lube and Valvoline have been won in court over exactly this failure. So if the industry is hiding what is inside your filter and the parent companies are facing federal fraud charges, does that mean every oil change is a gamble? No. It means you need to know exactly what to look for, and there are 3 things that matter. The first thing you check is the anti-drain back valve material. If the filter's product page or spec sheet says silicone, you are in good shape. If it says nitrile or does not specify the material at all, move on to a different filter. The second thing is the filter media type. For standard 5,000-mile oil changes, a cellulose or blended media filter from any major brand will do the job. Blackstone Labs, the gold standard in used oil analysis, has analyzed over 5,000 engine oil samples and concluded that they do not normally see much difference between filter brands at standard oil change intervals. Iron wear rates varied by barely half a part per million per 1,000 miles between brands. They compared that difference to adding half of a 2-liter bottle of Sprite to an Olympic-sized swimming pool. But if you run extended drain intervals of 10 to 15,000 miles, which modern synthetic oils are designed for, you absolutely need full synthetic media. It holds significantly more debris and maintains its filtration efficiency across the entire extended service life. The third and most important thing is the simplest. Verify the old gasket came off with the old filter every time you do an oil change. Run your finger around the engine block's filter mounting surface before you install the new one. If you feel rubber, the old gasket is stuck and you need to peel it off. This 5-second check prevents the single most common cause of catastrophic sudden oil loss. And here is the final detail that resolves the great paradox of oil filtration. The GM study proved that 15-micron filtration reduces engine wear by 70% compared to 40 microns. That is real science, but Blackstone Labs cannot detect that difference in real-world oil samples at normal intervals because the oil gets changed before the cumulative wear becomes measurable. The study tracked lifetime wear across hundreds of thousands of miles. Your filter choice matters most when you push intervals beyond what the filter was designed for, or when you plan to keep your vehicle for 200,000 miles and beyond. The era of trusting the label on the canister is over. 2 corporate groups build nearly every filter you can buy, and one of them has its founder sitting in federal court. The filter that will destroy your engine is not the cheap one at the auto parts store. It is the counterfeit with rags stuffed inside, the one installed on top of a stuck gasket, or the one left in service for 20,000 miles when it was designed for 5. Check the valve material, check the media type, and always check that the old gasket came off with the old filter. If you found this breakdown useful, hit subscribe so you never miss another deep dive like this one.